Welcome to the Science of Gratitude podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Mukanga, and each week we'll explore how gratitude transforms our lives through powerful stories and insights. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Science of Gratitude podcast. Once more, I really am grateful for you tuning in, for you subscribing, for you loving the show, and every good thing like that. I have a special guest for you today, Dr. Mary Leung. She is wonderful, and you will love her. And she's going to bring a lot of really, really good nuggets as far as what gratitude is and everything like that. So, Dr. Mary Leung, I would like for you to please introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Valerie, for having me here today. Just a brief introduction. I met Dr. Valerie probably like about maybe 3 years now, I think,
Yes.
because we're both in Dr. Una's, Entree MD Business School, and
Mhm.
we've learned a lot. I think we're together. We're kind of like have this special connection, special bond, and I'm really grateful for that. So.
I am too.
Yeah, so um, I would just say that I guess, my journey started when I was young that I wanted to become a physician. I grew up in Hong Kong, and both my parents, they were physicians. I mean, they are retired now, and
Mhm.
I just thought it was just simple thing that I wanted to help people. So I thought that was the easiest thing or the most straightforward thing. I shouldn't say easy, but the straightforward thing to do is to become a doctor to help people. And so, the brief journey was that pretty straightforward, worked hard, studied hard, get good grades. And then, fast forward to came to the US, and then, got into medical school after college. And then I chose internal medicine as my residency specialty because I thought that, well, I really liked that longitudinal relationship with patients. I want to develop that special connection and not just to treat their diseases or their diagnoses.
Right.
So then I went further to really wanted to do more specialization. So I chose hematology and medical oncology
Mm.
to do it because, especially for oncology, I feel like when patients are very sick, and not just with the physical burden but also the emotional burden, that is so
Mhm.
important to have someone not just be kind of like a robot, be
Mhm.
knowing all the medical knowledge to treat their illnesses, but also really to emotionally support the patients and the families. So
Right.
so then so that was really the simple thought that I had. And then when I finished my fellowship training, I thought, oh wow, I made it,
Mhm.
to be the attending. And I thought that was it, in a sense that, like, almost like in the top of the world.
Mhm.
So quickly I realized that that wasn't it. I found myself just really having more and more patient load in the private practice that I joined,
Mhm.
and it was a group practice.
Mhm.
And it was like to the point that I was just working extra hours, at nights and weekends, just to catch up with all the charting, all the, administrative work, patient phone calls, you name it.
Mhm.
And very quickly, I was just really um, exhausted, drained.
Yeah.
And looking back, I was burned out. I
Mhm.
didn't really know what that was at that time.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I started to be, really resentful and frustrated and easy to anger. And it was like
Mhm.
almost like everything was that I could easily complain about.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I really lost interest in even doing things I used to enjoy, like hanging out with friends, because I was just so tired. I
Wow.
wanted to see my kids. They were still kind of young at that time. I mean, they're teenagers now, so they probably don't really want to spend too much time with me. But you know, and I felt guilty about not able to spend more time with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was to the point that, you know, gratitude was definitely not really so much in my vocabulary at that time.
Right.
And I mean, I didn't really think about it until the pandemic hit.
Okay. Let me
And
ask you something real quick
yeah.
because we're going so fast, and I feel like, you know, from what you're saying, you said you studied hematology and practice hematology and oncology, and I have a lot of people who are not in the medical field. So, and you also touched on burnout slightly. Are you able to define those terms so that people can, you know, better understand what you practice and what your state was like?
Yeah, so to practice in hematology and oncology is really to treat patients with blood disorders, and
Mm-hmm.
including the not cancerous type of blood diseases like
Mhm,
anemia or clotting disorders, things like that, and
mhm.
also including the cancerous type of blood disorders like leukemia, lymphoma, that type of thing. And oncology is treating patients with all different types of cancer. So for
Mhm.
me, it's I would just say that I'm a general oncologist. So
Okay,
it's not like I just treat breast cancer. It's like
okay,
different types of cancers that I treat.
okay, okay. And then you said that at some point you worked so hard, you ended up being burnt out. You didn't know
Hmm.
what that was. So what is it to be, you know, to experience burnout?
Yeah, so it is like when you feel that you lost interest in doing things that you wanted to, and you feel very emotionally exhausted,
Hmm.
drained, and you felt like it's kind of like you're running on no battery.
Okay.
It's kind of like, when you have a cell phone, when you have low battery, you want to charge it,
Uh,
except that in real life, you're supposed to charge yourself, but then you just keep going.
right.
So that's when you're operating on, being, burned out and running dry.
Okay. Thank you so much. That would help someone understand better what Dr. Mary is talking about. So now you said, you know, because of where you were and, you know, you couldn't really spend time with your children, you felt like you were not very grateful.
Yeah, I was not at all. I was just thinking, questioning, why
Hmm.
was this happening to me? All I wanted to do was to help people, and I couldn't even help myself. I felt like I was just really going through the motions, just trying to stay afloat because, of all the workload that I had, I could barely survive. I was really just, barely getting by, and
Okay.
not to mention anything about, having even a sprinkle of joy in my life. It
Wow.
was, I wasn't at the point of, having what they call clinical depression.
Okay.
I was still functioning properly, but it was just like, it wasn't sustainable.
Mm.
And then the
Okay.
pandemic hit.
Then the pandemic hit.
Yeah. Then the pandemic hit was, of course, no one wanted a pandemic. It was unexpected.
Yeah.
And I think I do believe that, out of something that is bad,
Mm.
you can always find something good out of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm grateful for that too.
Right.
And so what happened was that, because, especially in my field, in my line of work, with a lot of cancer patients, their
Hmm.
immune system is lower than
Yes.
other people, especially when they're on treatment.
Right.
So we try to protect them by not seeing them unless they're, absolutely necessary to be seen.
Right.
So instead of seeing the 20 some patients a day, I
Hmm.
was seeing, a third to two-thirds of my patients,
Okay.
in a day. So then I was able to go home on time.
Okay.
Instead of going home past 7 with still work to do, I was
Yes.
going home like 4 or 5 o'clock. I
Okay.
thought that was amazing. That was wonderful.
Right.
And I got to spend really quality time with my family, started baking with my
Wow.
daughter. It was just wonderful time. And I thought, what if I could do this while I was seeing, my usual number of patients. That would be
Okay.
wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So around that time was I actually had time to explore other things. So I came
Mm-hmm.
across something called life coaching. No clue
Okay.
what that was, because I thought coaching is just for sports.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought, well, you know what? I was so desperate. I,
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted change. And I thought, I would try anything
Anything.
to make a change. And I didn't know if it would work, but I'm like, you know what, something different, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to go for it. And
Yes.
so I joined a women physician coaching program,
Okay.
coached by physicians.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I worked with a coach to and really realized that my biggest obstacle or my biggest problem was
Mm-hmm.
working the extra hours that I did
Mm-hmm.
not ask for to
Right.
work. and
Right.
and all those extra hours I wasn't compensated for,
Oh
because
yeah.
I
You're on
those were the
salary.
exactly, because those were the hours that I was just playing catch up to
Yes.
do all the charts and everything.
Right.
So then I worked with my coach and really found out ways to be more efficient, like being able to concentrate better, to
Mm-hmm.
minimize the distractions and all
Mm-hmm.
those things. And and in that process, that I remember very early in the beginning, my coach asked me, it's like, what went well?
What
And
went well?
I was dumbfounded. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean what went well? I'm like, nothing went well, right? And I had a hard time to just come, and she asked me three things that went well.
Not even just one.
And I had such a hard time to come up with three things. And apparently it could be anything, right? It could be anything big or small.
Right.
And so I finally came up with three. I don't even remember what they were, but the point is that that kind of started my gratitude journey,
Okay.
because then it really made me appreciate things. Of course, it started with things that went well,
Mm-hmm.
and that I was grateful for those things.
Right.
And
Right.
that actually opened me up to looking at situations that are not so good,
Uh-huh.
and still find things to be grateful for.
Okay.
And so just let me just go back to my story a little bit. It's so
Mm-hmm.
within about 3 months, I was able to, at that time I was, back to seeing the 20 some patients a day. My
Okay.
full,
So the pandemic is over and you're
the
back to your
pandemic wasn't quite over, but
not quite yet. Oh, really?
it lasted like, I don't know, 3 4 years. But anyway, so so then, yeah, I was back to seeing the same number of patients, but
Mm-hmm.
then I was able to go home by 5:30
Mm-hmm.
with all my work done. So I wasn't, bringing work home, and I was
Mm-hmm.
going home earlier than before. And
Okay.
of course, I was grateful for that. But
Mm-hmm.
I just want to emphasize that my gratitude journey
Mm-hmm.
did not start after that was achieved. It started, in the process of, just being coach and just being point to that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think I grew up knowing that, oh, it's good, it's right to be thankful, to be grateful, but I
Right.
wasn't really always practicing it. It was more like, oh, it's something went well, I was thankful for that, maybe like
Right.
just kind of like brush it off. And
Yes.
then if something didn't go well, I would
Mm-hmm.
be kind of complaining that, oh, it should have this way or that way, that type of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
then I learned that, there are things that we can control and
Mm-hmm.
things we cannot control. But what we
Right.
can control is how we show up, what our attitude is.
Mm.
And I find that being grateful is such a wonderful feeling, and yes, I'm grateful and I'm realistic about it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and and I think that gratitude really have you focus on what you have
Mm.
rather than what you don't have. Because,
Okay.
when you're complaining, it's
Mm-hmm.
like you're complaining about things that you don't have, because you
That
think
you
that,
don't
oh,
have.
things should be this way, things
Right.
should be that way.
Right.
So then, I find that I also share this with my patients, you know,
Okay.
and I learned this from my patients too, that,
Mm-hmm.
you can have two patients with the same diagnosis. They may
Mm-hmm.
have, very advanced cancer, and
Mm-hmm.
one can be just very calm with peace,
Mm-hmm.
and be grateful for the medical team for
Oh
things,
yeah.
or like grateful for that, oh, I didn't really have much side effects with this
Mm-hmm.
treatment. And then
Mm-hmm.
some, another patient could be like complaining every single thing, with every single symptom or situation or what. And
Mm-hmm.
guess who's happier? Of course,
Mm.
the grateful one. And
Right.
I do think that, with being able to have that gratitude and kind of quote unquote infect other people
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
that, it's a joyful thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
such a wonderful feeling
Mm.
that, yes, I'm able to, because of gratitude, I can look at things differently. I can
Mm-hmm.
look at the bright side. I can
Mm-hmm.
focus on abundance rather than scarcity.
Uh-huh.
And also, because of that, I am not using my mental energy to
Mm.
complain about things or to think, oh, what if things would be different?
Different.
And instead, I'm focusing on how I can make things better. Who do I have to be to show up to be the way that I want to be, like who, like for me it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how do I show up
Mm-hmm.
to be to leave work on time and
Mm-hmm.
take good care of my patients at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And the part of it, it's like, it cannot be separated from celebration and gratitude.
Okay.
And I think that is such an important thing, not just being a physician or being at work, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just life in general,
In general, yeah.
that I think being grateful for, even just for the nice weather,
The
or
nice
just
weather.
it's or sometimes, like, it rains, and some people, some people may complain that, oh, it's raining, I don't want to go out. But I'm like, you know what, the rain, it's actually here to remind us that we enjoy the sunny weather. Or,
True.
however way you can think of it, that I think that the more you practice gratitude, the
Mm-hmm.
easier that it comes out, or the easier that you spot the things to be grateful for. And
Mm-hmm.
why not? It makes you feel good.
Right.
It kind of like decreases your stress level, your
Mm-hmm.
anxiety level. And
Mm-hmm.
because, I think, we talked about, Dr. Valerie, you and I are both Christians, and
Mm-hmm.
we do believe that God will provide. And,
Yes.
not that we're not doing anything, we still work hard, we still
Of
do our
course.
part, but
Right.
it's just, having someone in our back, it just feels wonderful.
Yes. And while you were talking about the rain reminds us that we love the sunny weather. Well, here in Texas, it's hot a lot.
You
So
want
having
rain?
the rain, we can
Exactly.
also be grateful for it because it's going to kind of like lower that temperature for a little bit, especially during summertime, which is crazy. Like right now, earlier today when I looked, it was 97 degrees
Wow.
Fahrenheit, but it felt like it was 102. And when I went out to run like some errand, I felt like I was about to suffocate or faint. It was so hot. So yeah, we would appreciate the rain right about
Yeah.
now.
Grateful for the AC.
I, that part for working AC for sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. As far as in your line of work, have you noticed? I know that you've noticed how gratitude helps you handle your day better, even leave on time. Have you noticed, for example, for a patient or among patients suffering from diseases such as cancer, have you noticed whether those who are grateful have better outcome than those who are not?
It's a great question.
Mhm.
I think it's kind of tough to compare because, even two people with, the same diagnosis, their
Mhm.
trajectory is different.
Correct.
But I can say that for sure
Mhm.
that the grateful patients, they definitely have a better time,
Better time.
even if they're sicker
Mm.
than the not so grateful patients,
Uh-huh.
because, they're like, I think, how we feel, it's really, determined by what we think about things. So
Right.
if you're, carrying the attitude of gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
it's just really, it's it is very peaceful. It gives you kind of that calm, and you're probably less scared. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like we live in this world once, and we all end up, leaving this world. And
Right.
it's just a matter of when and
When
how
and
we
how.
do it, right? And we don't know until it happens.
Right.
So for some, I'll just say, for patients who have cancer, especially for end stage, cancer, they
Mm-hmm.
kind of know the how,
Mm-hmm.
so it's and I do believe that with, people with the gratitude heart, is that, it's more focusing on how we live rather
Yeah.
than, waiting to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I'm grateful that I'm able to be in this world in existence
Mm-hmm.
to make a difference,
Make a
in
difference. Yes.
someone's lives. And I
Right.
think that, I carry that with, seeing my patients, that,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I'm grateful for you. And, or even like sometimes if I'm running late, I'm like, I'm grateful for your patience,
Yes.
and it's like, you know what? That calms them down, really. I mean, and I'm truly grateful because I'm like, hey, I didn't do this on purpose, but you
Right.
may still be mad that you have to wait like 40 minutes for me. But
Uh-huh.
like sometimes it's like you just need to spend extra time with the other patient because they're very sick or they have a new diagnosis, that type of thing.
Right.
Um, and I think that, you know, yeah, whatever emotions that you have is contagious, really.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if you carry that, kind of a more uh, lighthearted and, grateful attitude, the patients feel it. The staff feel it too, and it
Mm-hmm.
actually, when and you carry that at work, that you're just grateful for your staff, like for even just getting the job done. It's like
Right.
it's wonderful. It's like lifts them up, and they're like, "Hey, I'm really part of the team."
Right.
So it's like I always think that, gratitude is, it's really something is so easy, and
Mm-hmm.
the more you practice it, the more it just flows naturally. and
Right.
and I'm not just saying that thank you, like just saying it, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
really coming from your heart.
Right.
You
Right.
do it, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I like that a lot. So what are ways that you, because you said gratitude is contagious. I really love
Yeah.
that. And how how do you communicate that sense of gratitude to where someone who was not so grateful becomes someone who's more grateful or who practices gratefulness and gratitude little by little?
You mean how to kind of influence someone who is not so
Yes.
grateful to become more grateful?
Correct. That's my
Got it.
question.
Yeah, I mean, of course, first of all, it's kind of like I think I love to just spread this to everybody around me.
Hmm.
And of course, I, for, being the hematologist and oncologist that I am,
Hmm.
I see patients all day long when I'm at work. And I think the easiest way to start is with a smile. You know, you go into the room with a smile, and then you look for things to be grateful for. It's like, oh, even sometimes it's like grateful for you to be on time. Like if someone who is always like late, I'm like, hey, you know what, you're on time today. And I have done that, to patients. you or I'm grateful for that, you really, tolerated the treatment well. I'm like,
Right.
that's wonderful. and
Hmm.
and it's like, I think that you can be grateful for anything,
Anything.
anybody. And
Hmm.
it's just so much fun to
Hmm.
do it, and the more you do it, it's like it's almost like, remember how I talked about, I was running dry, kind of, in
Hmm.
low battery to no battery. And
Right.
with practicing gratitude, it's kind of like, you're really, refilling your battery, little
Okay.
squirts at a time. and
Hmm.
and 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 that is because it is this pleasant emotion, that energy that fills you, and it's sustainable energy. And of course, that's not the reason why I'm grateful for other people. It's really that practice is just wonderful, and it's everyone benefit from it.
Right. So you have found that the more you express gratitude towards others, they also become more grateful as
Yeah.
a consequence.
Exactly, because when you're grateful for someone or something, and they sense it, and on the other side, then it seems like they have their guard down too. Like when they're start off with kind of being angry or defensive or that type of thing, and I noticed that most of the time, toward the end of our visit, it's like it changed. You can see the smile, you can see
Wow.
that they're more at peace with the visit. And I think that's why I'm here. It's just like I talked about in the beginning, that the connection that I want to make is really that deeper human relationship,
Right, you
that I
said
want
that.
patients to experience, and that through gratitude, it's really a big part of it.
I love it. I love it. And I love the part where you say you start with a smile. As a
Yeah.
dentist, I can appreciate that a lot. But I was going to ask you, Dr. Long, so did your family notice the switch between how you were before and where you are now as far as, practicing gratitude? Like, is there a major shift that they noticed, and how did that impact them, if it did?
I think so. I mean, I think that they find me more calm and more peaceful, and not really like, not like I was throwing a tantrum before,
Right.
but it was like I was just more grumpy before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now it's like I think it's everything, it's affecting everything,
Yes.
that I'm smiling more, and it's not like a forced smile, it's really just
Right.
from the heart. and
Right.
and I think it's just easier to have that family time together, and we just have more fun together, and with my friends too.
Right.
And of course at work, it's kind of like, I think, that I do influence my staff members to really work as a team. Our goal
Yes.
is to take good care of the patients, to give them a
Right.
great experience. So
Right.
I do hear compliments from the patients that, oh, you have very nice staff. I'm like, yes, that's what we want.
Exactly.
And I always say, I only work with nice people. you know and I only refer you to nice doctors. That's
Right. 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 Right.
and I think that it is wonderful to be able to do that. And also, for the physician clients that I coach, that I think that I kind of share with them too, like, think about what went well, what you're grateful for, because it's like when you're at that state of just working that extra hours, when you're really exhausted and all, the last thing you think about is gratitude. But
Right.
then it is actually the first thing to think about, because it is an important start to kind of turn things around, and and
Around.
to and to get you out of just living by the survival mode, to make it to be more like, in that you're thriving. And I think without gratitude, it's really hard to make that turn.
Right. I love it. So Dr. Mary Long, I want to switch gear a little bit. I know that you have a company or program. You just mentioned it just a few minutes ago, where you said you coaching. And so can you walk us through, like, what is the reason why, like, what is it? And then what caused you to want to, create this company, and what do you actually do?
Yeah. So I'll just say that if you asked me a few years ago that I would, what I would do besides being a physician, I'll be like, nothing. And so it's really through this. being coach experience and what I have gone through, from going home, with extra hours of work not compensated for, and,
Mhm.
really catching up nights and weekends, to
Mm.
going home on time and have that extra hours, or the hours that I reclaimed.
Mhm.
I was so grateful for that experience. Not that I
Mhm.
wanted, the previous life to have happened, but
Right.
because of that I really cherish what I have right now, and I'm
Mhm.
grateful for it. And I
Mhm.
know that so many physicians are really suffering from what I went through.
Mm.
Especially for kind of like internal medicine physicians, or the subspecialties, or family practice physicians.
Mhm.
So then I really want to share that, my experience and how that transformation can happen, and
Mhm.
it's available for other physicians,
Mhm.
and that I can help. So
Mhm.
so then I founded my company, and guess what it's called? Shining with Gratitude MD, because I'm just
I
so
love it.
grateful for for what has happened to me. So my company is that I help physicians who are stressed, overwhelmed, burned out like I was,
Mhm.
to feel better, to reclaim the time, so
Mhm.
that they get to enjoy life and
Mhm.
enjoy practicing medicine again. Because,
Right.
guess what? If everyone is really sick and tired of working these long hours, and
Mm.
yes, the medical system needs an overhaul, and that's another story. But in the meantime, individually, it's like, if we can change something, and make ourselves feel better,
Mhm.
why not? And the
Mhm.
patients benefit, because, who wants to see a grumpy doctor? Who wants to
Us.
see a doctor who is, overwhelmed, stressed, exhausted, and can barely take care of themselves?
Right.
And,
No one
it's like,
does.
how are you going to take care of me as a patient?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So that's how I started the company, that I have been coaching, with my after hours, because I'm still
Mhm.
working full time, as my clinical job. But
Mhm.
since now I have these extra hours, uh, I'm coaching physicians one on one, to do the same. So, there will be more physicians who are happier, who are
Mhm.
grateful, and who will choose to stay in practicing medicine. Because guess what? When we get old, if everyone is really sick and tired of practicing medicine, then we won't have enough doctors around.
That's true. That's true. And I know, because I know you, one of your goals is to teach doctors how to complete their charts so that they can go home on time. Can
Yeah.
you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, of course, because, for a lot of physicians, that's kind of the biggest obstacle. It's
Mhm.
really, the charting. Yes, no matter what you use, like whatever electronic medical records you're using, no matter if you're using a scribe or not, or
Mhm.
even AI,
Mhm.
there's really a lot of ways, a lot of different things you can do to improve your efficiency.
Mhm.
And by, you being able to go home on time with all your work done, that's
Mhm.
already a lot of burden, off your back. and
Right.
and that, it's like, you feel like you get to live again, because you
Mhm.
have that extra time, to be it with spending time with your family, or
Mhm.
doing things that you want, or taking a class that you really enjoy, whatever it is, that,
Mhm.
you really get to live, not just going through the motions. So that's why, I would just say that I'm focusing on, the charting efficiency. And I mean charting meaning like work efficiency in general,
Right.
because, it is really, yeah, charting is a big part of it, but also it's like, how do you focus better? How do you
Mm.
minimize the distractions, from your
Mhm.
staff, from the
Mhm.
patient, and from
Mhm.
yourself?
And from yourself.
Yeah.
So may I ask you, if you don't mind sharing with us just two ways that you help people focus so that they're not scatterbrained and that they can actually leave on time?
Yes, of course. So the biggest thing is actually that you have to make a goal for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So because the goal is to help your mind to focus on one direction.
Mm-hmm.
So like for example, for me is my goal is to take good care of the patients and leave work by 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be specific. Like you don't want to be like, oh, I want to do a good job and finish my work. Like that's not specific enough. So you want to be like, say, like have a time frame,
Mm-hmm.
and like you want to finish your work. Like for me, like, so, oh, I want to see the 25 patients, take care of them and finish everything by 5 o'clock. Say,
Okay.
that's so
Okay.
so because that, it's like, and you have to remind yourself throughout the day that is your
Okay.
goal.
Uh-huh.
Because every time that your mind wanders off,
Mm-hmm.
you got to remind yourself that it's like, okay, whatever you're going to do next, is that going to help you go toward your goal, right? If it's not, then
Come back, brain. Come back.
come back. And I mean, I think that's another thing, is really to be mindful of your mind, like kind
Mm-hmm.
of like, be an examiner or an observer of your mind. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what am I thinking right now? It's like,
Okay.
when I say the distractions from within, right, from yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, are you
Mm-hmm.
thinking that, oh, what is that email about? Or, oh, let me check on social media, right? So all
Mm-hmm.
these thoughts can come up, but then it's like, when you focus on, hey, I'm here to, really take care of business, to go home on time, then you'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, those things are not that important. I can do, check those emails, like the non-work emails, the social media things later on.
Right.
So I think that, being able to be that examiner of your mind is so
Mm-hmm.
important. And I'm just going to give you one more thing too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is, how we always have these days, our electronic devices.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that when you're at work, turn it off or turn it on
Mm-hmm.
silent mode,
Okay.
because it's like, if it's really something important, people are
Mm-hmm.
going to find you. They
Okay.
don't need to call you on your cell phone. They can call you at work. They can overhead page you in the hospital, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can find you. But if you have your cell phone on, with the noise, then
Mm-hmm.
every time it dings or whatever, then your mind is already wandering off, and it's like, oh, I wonder what it's about. And by the
Uh-huh.
time that you kind of want to get back, you already spent, seconds to even minutes to wander
Right.
off. So if you do that
Mm-hmm.
like 20 times, imagine how much time you have wasted.
Right. Right. Right.
So
You
those
can
are the
say,
little tips.
let me answer this one thing, this one email or this one comment,
Hmm.
and it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, you're like, oh snap.
Exactly. Who has not done it before? I mean, I've done it many times until I'm mindful of this. So,
I love what you said. So number one, have a goal.
mhm,
Number two, you want to make sure you keep reminding you of the goal. And you're also saying try to close your device, but also be an observer of your own mind. So you are mindful of what you're thinking about so you can stay on course.
exactly.
Those are great gems. And I know that those, even though those, the way you use it is to help physician, I know that that can help anyone in
Hmm.
any line of real fields or anything they're doing. So those are great, great, great pointers. Thank you so much for giving us that for free.
Of course.
Appreciate it. Wonderful. So this was rich. I was just wondering, earlier on you said, you studied and then you moved to the US. Just being curious, where were you coming from?
Yeah, so I grew up in Hong Kong, and
Okay.
then so after 11th grade or so, my parents sent me to boarding school
Oh,
in
wow.
the US, and then from 12th grade onwards, I'm here.
Wonderful. How was boarding school? I never went, and I'm kind of like anti boarding school, low key. How was that?
It was tough. I think it was tough for many reasons for me because, when I grew up in Hong Kong, yes, it was a British colony era, and
Mm-hmm.
I did learn English, but I only
Okay.
spoke English in English class,
Okay.
and everything else was taught in Cantonese. Yes,
Okay.
I would use English textbook and all, but so when I first came to the US, I had to think about things in Chinese and translate it in my head to speak it out in English. And it was not easy, and I
Right.
had to really pay extra attention to people when they were talking to me to make sure that I
Right.
understood them.
Mm-hmm.
So then, not to mention that it was it was just an entirely new environment for me, and it
Right.
was my first time. Well, I shouldn't say. It was almost my first time away from home for a long time, and I'm
Yeah.
saying that it's not quite my first time is because I was sent to, like, those sleepaway camp a little bit, but it was like not for really school,
Long
right?
time. Right.
It was
Right.
just a week, or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So then, and then I went to, I went to an all girls school when I was growing up for
Okay.
11 years. And then I
Right.
went to this co-ed school and had to be a boarding school. I mean, the boarding, it's like, of course, it's separate, by gender. So it's
Right.
not like you're in the same house as, the opposite gender, but still. So then, and then I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. Well, actually, I didn't know. So I took
Right.
all these AP classes, and and I had to learn American history that I had no
Uh-huh.
clue about because I
Uh-huh.
learned Chinese history, right?
Right.
And I had to apply to colleges all at the same time. So it was
My
just
goodness.
everything at the same time. It was a very tough year,
I
but
can tell.
I am grateful for that year
Uh-huh.
because that made my first 2 years of college really, really easy.
Wow.
so,
Wow.
so yes, I think everything happens for a reason, and
Yeah.
I'm, just looking back, it's like, of course, that was a hard year. I didn't want that to happen to me again. At the
Uh-huh.
same time, it's like, well, I'm really grateful for that experience, for
Mhm.
people I met, and really that really trained me to become the person I am.
Well, thank you so much. This was so great. Dr. Marilyn, thank you so much for saying yes, or actually for, coming on the podcast. This was very, very valuable because we learned a lot of reasons why, gratitude is very important, how that can change your trajectory, how that can change your environment and all of that and make you very happy in the meantime. So thank you for all the nuggets you shared with the audience. I wanted to know if somebody wanted to work with you, how can they do so? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can visit my website is www.shiningwithgratitudemd.com,
Mm-hmm.
and my email is the same, actually, is shiningwithgratitudemd@gmail.com, and I'm
Wonderful.
also on Facebook, Mary Leung, and on LinkedIn, Mary Leung MD.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, there you have it. I know that this was very, very impactful, very insightful. There's a lot of good things that I'm going to apply myself when it comes to gratitude. So, thank you so much for stopping by today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, until we meet you next time, you stay blessed. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Science of Gratitude podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe, share it, and leave us a review. Your support helps us keep spreading the power of gratitude. And until next time, stay grateful. God bless you.